is 7:00 a.m. Friday, December 15th, 2023. This is a regular school board meeting of the Oaks School Board. We're meeting here in the Oaks Public Schools Central Office Conference Room and via Zoom. We have all board members present and staff, and some guests are joining us. Mostly staff, it looks like. We'll stand right now to say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda was in your packet. Is there any, are there any additions to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Nagel moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Sire seconds. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say no. Motion passes. Welcome visitors. We have several staff members in the room with us, as well as on visiting us, joining us remotely, as well as Sue Dygard. What about Marcia?
Oh,
No, Marcia. And
Marcia's traveling today.
okay, and Lori Christensen.
Hi, Sue.
With us for later. All right, I believe there was one item of communication. Thank you from veteran Dennis Roney to special thank you to several of our students for their work with the Veterans Day program.
Thank you for the Veterans Day program.
Yep.
We're awesome.
So thank you, Dennis, for your service and for recognizing our students. Any other communication?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So we'll move on to student outcomes, goals, and guardrails. I'll just turn this whole thing over to our superintendent and staff.
Great. So this month, our progress monitoring is for goal number 3, which is the Choice Ready goal. And Mr. Wentworth and Mr. Letch are going to be presenting. So
so what I have to talk about is ASVAB results from the junior class. The ASVAB turns into a little bit of an important piece with the Choice Ready indicator. Put that up. So under the Choice Ready indicators, if you look under the military section, it asks for a 31 or higher on the ASVAB, and that is a typical score to get into any of the military branches. With that, so that 46 juniors take the ASVAB on Monday, October 16th, and 38 out of the 46 scored a 31 or higher. And so that's a percentage of 83%. Now, what that means is, you know, we can look at a good chunk of our junior class being Choice Ready, but they have to hit 2 indicators. And so looking at, like, there's other pieces that go into it. So with that 31, if they get any ISS or OSS, that is of reporting, that's reported to the state. So if you get 4 tardies and an ISS, that doesn't get reported to the state. Or at least that's what Mr. Beta did last year. I don't think Jordan does that either. But like if it's a major ISS or OSS, then that would take them off that chance of getting military ready, even with their ASVAB. You know, so if they don't meet one of those requirements in the red in the military, they aren't considered military ready. With that, I also talked about how 29 out of the 46 were 50, got a 50 or higher on the ASVAB. The reason why I mentioned that is because next year, the North Dakota State Scholarship that we're used to with 4 years, the $6,000 over 4 years. It's switching from the academic and CTE route to looking similar to this Choice Ready chart. And their indicator is they want you to have a 50 or higher on your ASVAB. And so with that, 63% of the students met that mark. And so that gives them a really good chance, a really good opportunity to be able to qualify for the for that state scholarship. With that, out of the 8 students who were lower than a 31, 3 students were within 7 points of meeting the 31 threshold. So I kind of looked at it as, okay, if you're in the 20s, you really have a good chance of jumping up. I did have one student who took it a year early, ASVAB a year early, because I needed numbers to have the military come back to take to do the ASVAB. And that student got was able to like double their score from their sophomore year to their junior year. So like even the ones who are in the teens and the 20s, there is a possibility of them actually, if they retake it, to get a 31 or higher. And the nice thing about that was there were quite a few students who said that they were really interested in retaking this. So usually the ASVAB is a test that we take in October, and the kids take it and then they don't really worry too much about it. They don't put a huge amount of effort into it because they're like, what is the value of it? Well, it's a military test. So they go, I'm not going into the military, so they don't really worry about it. And this year we actually saw quite a few. I saw quite a few juniors really last year's we had 4 kids above an 80, and our National Guard recruiter said we had one of the higher scoring classes in the area. This year we had about 7 or 8 that were 80 or higher, and we had a bunch in the 70s. And so they're taking it more serious, and it's something that can, as an indicator, will become easier for them. Like they're taking it more serious to where they're going to they'll do a better score and do well on it. With that, okay. So then the other thing, if you look at the Workforce Ready, there's complete 3 CTE courses or more. And then with that, the complete career ready practices. One of the nice things about the center is that they do the career ready practices if you take a course there. So if you just take a course at the center, you're getting that you're getting your CTE courses, but you're also getting your complete your career ready practices. And so I looked at the sophomore class this year, and with them, I just did a quick number of them of how many had 3 credits already by the time they finish their sophomore year. 27 out of the 35 students will have 3 CTE. And then there's 3 more students that have 2.5 credits by the end of the year. And so they just need a half a credit of half a semester of a class out at the center to be able to meet that goal. So we're looking at 77% for the 3 credits, and then with the other 3 students added to it, it would be 86% would be workforce ready. So they're by the spring semester of their junior year, and now does that mean that that's what we can expect as our percentage for it? No, because it's kind of a fluid chart, because they might not hit their post-secondary marks. They might find them, they may be a great kid, and then the last week of school get ISS for something big. That's what, so there isn't so when we chart this, it's more fluid than it is being able to get a hard number of this is exactly how many kids are gonna actually make it. And so, then the last thing is that I want to talk about is the Choice Ready grant. This is the second year we were able to get the Choice Ready grant. We got $20,000 from it. Same as we did last year, it's the max that you can get for it. And so we put it into dual credit tuition for 2 semesters for the spring and for the fall. And so there'll be $11,952 for the 2 semesters going to students to try to bump up their desire to do dual credit, because dual credit in post-secondary and workforce ready is part of the Choice Ready indicators. Then we also decided to put $6,300 for 1/2 of the Spanish ITV tuition for 21 students. Under the workforce, there is a foreign language. We completed a world language course. And so having that as an option for our students was a way, now that we don't have a Spanish teacher, when we went through ITV, it was a way to help offset some of that cost. And then we looked at 82 licenses for, on the Are You Ready website, they have a test prep for ACT, ASVAB, WorkKeys, and AccuPlacer. And so we put some money towards getting licenses so that they have a way of studying for some of these tests as well. That would be offered too. And so with that, hopefully ACT scores can be higher, ASVAB scores can be a little bit higher, and WorkKeys test, because if you do not get a 24 on your ACT for the scholarship, that's when you can do a WorkKeys test. And the WorkKeys is a shorter version of the ACT, and they score it 3 through 7, and you need to get a 5 on 3 sections. There's a like the science graphical reading stuff section, a workplace documents, which is the English portion, and then a applied mathematics, which is the portion. And so it can be all. I am a proctor of AccuPlacer and WorkKeys, so students can come right to my office, take the test in my office when they want to individually, and instead of having to travel to NDSCS Valley City.
Piggybacking off of what was where we talked about, so then we have like the census skills up top there, and basically like, all right, to be Choice Ready, they need to have everything that they've met here for the high school in order to reach that piece, and then get down to the post-secondary, workforce, and military ready. So in my report that I sent to Anna and she sent to you guys was the GED number 2 option there. So with that, it allows students the opportunity to, let's say the freshman year they fail. So like first semester they fail. All of a sudden comes to their senior year. All right, I need to take this, but they're just unable to fit in their schedule for whatever reason. They could do this GED number 2 option, and that would essentially make up the credit that they missed before, whether it was a half year, full year. They had 3 different options on there that they could sign off on, and that would be approved from us as administrators to see like, all right, are there any special factors that are at play here that they would qualify for in order to make up. Let's say it was like one example that I know my friend had, like it was a huge health issue. A student missed so many years because of certain health reasons, so they never received the credits up until that point. Well, they were able to make up those credits taking this GED. So with that, it's let's say it was for science. All right, so they would take a GED practice test. They would practice that until they, let's say, got a significant score to show like, all right, I know this information. They would go into a GED testing center, take that, just the science piece of it. If they passed the science part, they would receive whatever the credits were that were in place on that grant. So that kind of ties into it. So we're, all right, we're helping these kids to be successful in whatever path, whatever situation we can to get it there. The one kind of catch and hang up on that is they cannot attend a 4-year school based upon that. So like they're still getting their high school diploma from us, but it's kind of like attached with a little bit of more of an asterisk to it. So like they need to go to a 2-year school first and then they could attend a 4-year school after that, so. That's kind of an idea and just kind of keep the ball rolling there and just provide more options and more ways for our students to be successful there. So that's our choice, ready?
Yeah, can I piggyback off of what you said too?
Yeah, piggyback, yep.
On that GED number 2. So 2 weeks ago, we went out to YCC, the Youth Correctional Center, and they do a lot of that GED too there. And so it was kind of nice. I was able to get more information about that option. And it's a way in which they have a program that they have them go through, an online program that they have to score 160 or higher. And then after they do that consistently, they make them take a paper test of that section. If they score a 160 or higher, then they're more likely to pass the GED section. And so then that way they're able to get their science credit, or because they only see students for 90 to 120 days out there. And so they're able to make up that science credit, math credit, English credit that might be hard for them to get done in a year or two. They're able to get all of that credit through passing that GED and then get the high school diploma instead of the GED. And so.
I know that the ASVAB is a military test.
Yep.
I've really never understood or been, nobody's ever told me what is on the ASVAB. What's an overview of the ASVAB?
So there's like, how many components? Like 11 components to it, and they range between 14 questions and 25 questions. You have math, reading, science questions, you have those pieces, but then you also have like mechanical questions, like gears. So if this gear is going this way and that gear is going this way, what's the 32nd gear do? There's electrical stuff, questions, sections, and so it's kind of neat to watch the students who are really successful at electrical and mechanical stuff super high to their peers, because it breaks it down by gender. Juniors who take it by gender, what they might score 90% higher than or better than 90% of the junior females that take this section of the test, or males, or overall. And then they get that score as well that comes into that overall ASVAB score that we look for state tests, for the state scholarship and for choice ready.
So it's largely a written test, or is there some?
It's completely written.
Okay, I was thinking that there was some sort of manual portion of it.
Like with those sections, it's all paper tests that they do the mechanical or the electrical stuff. They'll show a diagram of think of 8th grade science when you had to get the light bulb to turn on, those sorts of it, where you'd see that diagram on a sheet of paper. They get stuff like that for this time.
And you said that the test was just administered here last week and you already have results?
No, it was October 16th.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So how long does it take to get the results?
It took 2 weeks.
Okay, so that's not so bad.
No.
It's like ACT sometimes it used to be.
Yeah.
like 6 weeks.
Yeah, ACT is now 3 weeks, 4 weeks, is what they were saying. That when I did the ACT in December, on December 9th, they said 3 to 4 weeks.
How about career ready practices? I remember Garrett getting career ready practices sheets. If anyone's had a student in a career tech ed class at the center, you may remember that, but I think parents haven't had kids go through CTE classes, wouldn't know what that is. Could you give us a better description or more complete description of that?
Yeah, so out at the center, when you take a CTE course, they have a rubric for certain skills that they're looking for in the workforce. That rubric each teacher will do an assignment that assesses where that student is with those career ready practices. And so it's I can email out an example of it for you guys so you can see what it looks like. I can do that later this morning. I can do that. But they go through, it's just a criteria rubric, and some of them are punctuality, appearance, some of those things, and then some of the skills that go with it as well. Like off the top of my head, I don't have.
It's quite comprehensive.
Oh, it's a large
People
rubric.
would be impressed to see, because I think some people feel like, well, kids don't know how to dress or how to show up on time. And those are the sorts of things, like the examples that you gave, those are the sorts of things that they're graded on. I have a lot of questions. You mentioned a couple of times ISS, OSS, in school and out of school suspension. As it relates to the career ready practices and disqualifying a student from being considered military ready. I think we've had some discussion in the past about, can we implement some restorative justice measures in order to get them, to bring them back from having that on their record or expunge that? Have we made progress in that area?
My kind of principal mentoring groups, that's been a piece that's been brought up. So it's an idea that's been there, but it's just never been, I guess, talked about at this point, but
We don't really have anything formal, but you're doing that, Jordan. The kids that are, that are in ISSC has them working with teachers after school or doing some kind of restorative practices. There's very few that we would report to the state on. We probably would have to report to the state on babying, right? But Jordan, we had somebody, they had to do an online course before they could come back to school, so those are those restorative things that we could go and expunge it from their record, if need to. But if you're out of school for beating somebody up, you're probably not going to be able to expunge that, especially if it was something legal. But, we don't have anything formal. That's probably a really good goal for us, or to have something formal that we could create to say, but we don't want to back ourselves into a corner either, because each case is different. And that's one thing that we're struggling with, but we're trying to overcome this year too, is things like, because people want to say, well, that's not what you did for that kid, but our goal is to look at each kid independently and individually and decide on things, not to make everything equal, but to be fair to those kids, or to be correct for those kids. So.
And I'm talking all sorts of options here, not to say that this is where we would be headed to, but there are school districts that have done a lot of restorative justice to where they put the power back to the student body, and they made students create a panel, and then that person would present their case why it should be expunged. To be honest, I've actually had a couple of conversations with in the senior meetings with some seniors who might have had this issue come up for them, and I asked them, would they be interested in doing that? And some of them were, for anecdotal evidence, some of them were, yeah, I wouldn't care if it was my peers. They wouldn't worry so much about that piece. Some were worried about having a peer group do that, like who would be on that panel. It'd be a chain, like would they actually hear me out? And then it was also, and this was the other big piece, is if it's career, if you're choice ready, to them, they see that choice ready marker as just the court itself. They don't see any other big, huge time. So the jump to go through those hoops is a little bit harder for them there isn't that huge incentive. Because that was another piece of feedback that they mentioned. Like, well, what do I get if I did this? Well, see that cord, and they're like, oh, it's a cord, okay. So that's the other piece that comes with it.
value of it, you know. So all of a sudden, if you want to go in the military, you can't be in the military because you have that today, right? Then it would be personal.
Yeah,
Right? It would have more meaning in the course.
Yeah.
I had one more. Mr. Wentworth, you mentioned, the work keys test and that if a student doesn't score as well as they would like on ACT, they can take the work keys, but can anyone take the work keys at any time? You
yes,
don't have to not score well on the
No,
ACT.
you could take, anybody can take the work use. I open it up usually, it's the seniors that I usually have take the work use. I haven't opened it up to juniors, just because go traditional route of taking the ACT from there. Then senior year is when, in the spring is when I do work use testing. So last year being my first year, we did the work use testing for the CTE, part of the North Dakota State Scholarship. So if you don't score a 24 on your ACT, you take the work use. The nice part, one other piece that I'll mention is they do composite scoring or super scoring now on the ACT. So if you've only gotten a 22 and a 23, but together they would be a 24, you can actually qualify for the academic scholarship with the 20. They'll take that super score 24 on the ACT for that North Dakota State Scholarship. You just have to give them the documentation. That's what.
They're doing a ton of work to make things a lot more accessible to kids. And to give them programming and to think about stuff, taking feedback from kids, you know, kids coming in and saying, hey, what will work for you? Let's do this. And we're really trying to make sure that we're using our waiver and add more programming for the kids. And they've been working very hard on this, going out to YCC, you know, doing visits to try to create, you know, we've got to give kids more options. Or they're going to leave us and go somewhere else. Let's keep them here because we need the funding, obviously, right? But we want the kids here in our school. And so offering the GED option 2 gives them other choices, right? Instead of just dropping out of school, stay in school, we'll help you, you know, we'll get you through that. And they've been working very hard on it. I mean, it's only been 4 months this school year, and this is how far we've come. So there's a lot of good things going on thanks to their hard work. So
And a lot more.
yeah, we've got a lot of plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take chances, so that's good. But maybe to wrap it up, if we remember what our goal progress measures are, is that the percentage of students at OPS that attain a score of 31 on the ASVAB will increase from 77 to 90%. So our goal for this year was actually 78%. So we surpassed, so we reached 83%. I know we haven't marked for spring, but the test is done in the fall. So in case there are kids that want to, you know, do some more ASVAB testing. And then the other one is the percentage of sophomores that are choice ready in at least one indicator area will increase from 84% in spring to 100%. And we'll keep on monitoring that, you know, watching those indicators. So then Jordan and Ed will have that number in spring. So
Yeah, and that was just one indicator.
one indicator, yeah.
There might be other students that have other pieces that would make it to where they would fit under the post-secondary or the military section, you know. So I off of the workforce, because a lot of our students will make choice ready by having that workforce ready piece, because our kids take center classes, and some of them by their freshman year, they have their 3 courses of CTE, you know, by the end of their freshman year.
This
So
was a really hard one to define, wasn't it? You know, we went round and around, like, if we do this for as our indicator, but wait, this could happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I think that this was one of the easiest ways, or at least it's our, you know, first try at what we can pin down, so.
And the reason why is because, like, you get the map of it, and it's which ones can you hit to make it, and then once you have them, oh, your choice, then you have this indicator. So you could be you could have none of these, and then your senior year become choice ready, you know. So that's the other hard part.
Might have been an advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really lucky. And hoping to do some more things out there too, some more programming, maybe some offerings of English class, what, you know, because that's a really, brings a good idea forever, so, yeah. Any other questions on that section? Let me just move on.
Sure.
Okay, so the next section then is the superintendent guardrail and progress measures. So I've been working with Jordan and Greg to work on the progress measures. And I don't know, Sue might want to be jumping in here, messing up on this, but so taking the guardrails and looking at our progress measures, and I sent those to you. I think the next step is that you have to decide, do the progress measures that I came up with, or we came up with, actually meet what you wanted, the intent of your guardrails. Yes, I did change goal progress measure 1-3 because I was planning on using the Youth Truth Survey. When Jordan and I went out to High Tech High, they use the Youth Truth Survey, and it's a nonprofit, it's nationwide. Lots of kids take the Youth Truth Survey, so then it would be nationwide data that we could dig into. But it was pretty cost prohibitive for what we really wanted to do with it. You could take it only one time a year. There was a lot of different sections, and that wasn't really what we were looking with in here. What we're looking for on goal progress the measure on 1-3 is to ask the kids and get that qualitative data, like, do you feel engaged in school? And if not, give us your reasons, you know, and tell us what it is, to give them a platform to have their voices heard. When we do the Wellington, it's, you know, pick a point. Do you feel this way? There's not really that underlying reason. So that's what we really want to get from the kids. And I want it to go right to the kids from me, ask them, tell me what, you know, help us out, help us what we can do in order to get you more engaged in school. So anyways, I worked on that tool. We're refining it a little bit, and I'll give you guys, you know, what so you can see what it looks like and can understand what it is. But that's what 1-3 is going to be. Won't cost us anything, just my time and our time to go through it. But
So that's the OPS engagement survey is
What we're
something
gonna
we're
create.
developing. It's not the statewide
No,
engagement because you've not found that to be helpful.
no, I mean, I think that you can probably grab some stuff out of it, but really what I want is that qualitative piece. Like, tell me why. Why do you not feel engaged? What can we do for you? And I know, I realize it's taking a chance doing that survey, but I also want to be transparent and share that data out to the teachers and say, here's what the kids are saying. You need to see this. So we'll parse it out. We'll be totally transparent with them and give them that data. But that's what that engagement survey is, if you guys are accepting of those tools.
And what kind of help or guidance from experts are you getting to develop this engagement survey? Because I often think,
Right.
well, let's just create our survey.
Mhm.
But you know, I think we're seeing with, you know, with our work with ICS, you know, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it takes some skill to create a good survey.
Yeah.
Are we getting some help to do it correctly? Do it
No.
Right.
I haven't, I've got Drake can help me from Knowledge Works. I haven't reached out to Drake, but I did the survey, only have like 4 questions. It was, do you feel engaged in school on a Likert scale? Why not? And then I don't remember what the other questions were on there. I tried to just keep it super simple because I didn't want to get into that mess of, you know, when you start talking about data and you're gathering all of this data, you've got to make sure that it's, you know, meets all the qualifications. And I didn't want to have to jump through that hoop. I just want to get the information from the kids once a year. Tell us how you're feeling. And yeah, we're going to probably get outliers and, you know, just like in anything else, but, you know, just to give us the information that we need. So
It's once a year enough? Or
I'm gonna-
fall, spring?
right, I'm going to do a pilot here before Christmas. So it'll get sent out to all the kids. The kids will do the survey. It'll come right back to me. And I'll share with the admin, we'll look at it, but the spring is when we'll take the data, and I guess we'll see how that goes. You know, I mean, if we feel like we need to do it twice a year, we can do it twice a year, but we're already asking the kids to do the Wellington and, you know, so. So Sue, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, let me try. The one thing that I'm hearing that I want to chime in on is in the framework, the progress measures for guardrails should be multiple times a year. So at least twice.
We can do that.
That's how, that way you can see your progress over the course of the year.
When we do it. We're gonna do it.
Sorry, did someone ask a question? I didn't.
No, so now the board just has to decide if these
Yeah,
progress measures meet.
so what I would ask is, does anybody feel that these ways of measuring the guardrails are not honoring the value that the board articulated in the guardrails?
I'm pulling up now the guardrails instead of the progress measures. just to
Yeah,
give you-
I think you should reflect on your guardrails and then look at the language that your superintendent has shared with you for the guardrail progress measures. You know, if there are any questions of, clarity, hey, I'm reading the guardrail, blah, 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 help me understand how that honors the value in that guardrail. And then as long as nobody is in disagreement that these are honoring the guardrails, then she proceeds.
All right, so I have the guardrails in front of me. Why doesn't everyone else get the progress measures, the guardrail progress measures that we're proposing? And are we proposing to adopt them today?
No, that'll be next month, correct, Sue?
Yeah, so
Okay.
what we're trying to do for y'all is the building block before you can really start monitoring. I mean, you guys had a great foundational conversation about Choice Ready. I thoroughly enjoyed everything that I heard, and I was actually in awe and texted a friend. I said, I'm watching this board meeting and this is what they're doing, and I'm just so in awe. And so what you need is, you have your goals, you're about to have your guardrails, your progress measures, and then a monitoring calendar. And then once those things are complete, then you can start with your actual progress monitoring of your student outcome goals and your guardrails. And so what we've been, Marcia and I have been visiting about with your superintendent is, let's get all of these things done. Let's make sure that you all don't have any misalignment on the guardrail progress measures. And then you all can vote on passing these with the monitoring calendar in January. But you actually will pass the goals and the guardrails, not the progress measures, because those are owned by your superintendent. And then you'll pass or consider for a vote, the monitoring calendar.
Okay, so I have in front of me the guardrails that we sat in this room and we put posters up, and this is how it boiled down to this. Number one, the superintendent shall not allow the district to operate without a system of effective student engagement. And so Anna has presented to us, is it three goal progress measures? No, guardrail progress measures related to that. Do those three reflect what we asked her to do with our guardrail number one? It's over here, and then I can look at it. Yeah. I don't have, can't YouTube. Okay, so we've got the Wellington survey. And another Wellington survey. What's the difference between?
One is for ELA and one is for
Oh, I
math,
see.
since those
Okay,
are our two goal
Okay.
areas.
And then this engagement survey that's under construction. Okay? Questions or comments on those? Right, so number two, the superintendent shall not allow the district to operate without effective instruction anchored in PCBL practices. And we've got three measures there. Those are, one is Empower PD Element 1A.
Which is proficiency scales.
Okay. Empower Element 2B.
Which is learner centered assessments.
And lesson plan completion. And that is not required right now, but we're proposing to start the requirement in January. And that 100% of teachers would be submitting their lesson
Including
plans.
the components of the rigor, the learner centered assessments, and the standards.
Okay. So does that reflect operating without effective instruction anchored in PCBL practices? Just.
And do you mind if I chime in with another comment? So if y'all will notice, in some cases, you see baseline and not an actual number. So once Anna has a baseline, then that will plug in. And what I've recommended is in the monitoring calendar for her to include not just when you're monitoring things, but when she's going to present this baseline to you. And then you'll also notice that some of the years are further out and some of them are closer in as far as the target years. And the reason for that is, they don't all have to be 5 years like your goals are. And the reason for that is, some of these things, she doesn't want to wait 5 years for her teachers to be doing lesson plans. And then for each of these, when you begin your progress monitoring, in addition to your goals having annual targets, each of these things will also have annual targets. And so we'll be meeting with her in our next check-in about how to set those. And what sometimes can happen is you might have earlier targets that are a little lower because as you're building your systems, it takes a little time for things to ramp up and get those systems going, but then you get these bigger leaps. And then sometimes you have the inverse of, she might get, a majority of her principals or teachers doing the lesson plans, but then it might take a little longer maybe to get from that 90% to 100%. And so that's something we'll talk through with her, but just to, kind of give you a glimpse of what's coming and help understand why there's a little bit of these differences in the years and some of the areas without data yet.
Okay, guardrail number 3, the superintendent shall not allow the district to operate without an effective system of two-way communication with families that supports improvement to student learning outcomes. Anna has presented us with 2 progress measures related to teachers maintaining communication logs that result in a positive learning outcome.
So
Communication
the
logs.
principals have created logs. They're the same for K through 12, and we're going to be doing it also. The logs are, who they talk to, the date, obviously, those things. But the big thing is that the teachers are going to be keeping track of if it had a positive effect on a learning outcome. So that was our goal. But, not every communication is going to have a positive effect. And we've told the teachers, that's not the goal, is for you to make every, we just want to see, I shouldn't say that. Our goal is that we have more positive effects on learning outcome, right? But that's not where we're putting a demand on the teachers, that every time you talk to it, something comes out positive. We want to keep track of how many of our conversations or communication ends up having a positive effect on. So they'll just keep track. Was it positive? No effect, or negative effect.
And so maybe figuring out, if, well, we keep doing it this way and that's not resulting in a positive effect, maybe we should change what we're
Right.
doing.
And it's communication we've asked them to do. If they email, keep track of it. If you call, keep track of it. It's just a running log. So I put mine right by my already. So.
And then the second one is related to students participating in a student-led activity with one parent, at least one parent or guardian. And that is the parent-teacher conferences.
We're hoping with conferences or us starting to build our repertoire of events during the year. So this spring, we're not gonna have regular parent-teacher conferences. We're gonna have a student showcase. And all of our kids are going to have some kind of a product or something that they're gonna show. And what we're hoping that with kids being here, the parents are gonna show up, because we had the conversation of parent-teacher conferences. We haven't had great attendance at those in the high school level. Well, why do parents attend basketball games? Why do they attend wrestling matches? Why do they attend concerts? Because their kids are involved in it, right? So if kids are involved, parents come in. But if kids are not involved, parents tend to, not come in, at least in our, what we've been experiencing. So we want to have the kids doing something, so parents come in. And that's our hope this spring. We're not gonna have conferences. We need to have those conversations before that, but the kids are going to be doing something. We want parents to come in and be part of us.
So 100% of kids, the goal would be 100% of kids are doing something, whether it's an individual, so it's sort of a science fair, social studies fair, or maybe I'm thinking back to a couple of years ago when we had a group activity that had to do with didn't the highway patrol or someone help come in and do a driving safety or something that
Yeah, that might be another event where.
might not just be individual. Every kid has a booth like a science fair, but okay, that this group of kids is doing something as a group.
Yeah, and it'll depend, I'm just leaving it kind of up to Jordan and Greg what they want to do with their individuals, but I know our eighth graders are doing a business model, it's eighth graders, right, they're doing Jess. So it's gonna be, something that they're gonna be working on, and they might be in groups of 3, 2, 1, whatever, however they decide that they want to do in their schools, but there's gonna be a presentation, it could be kids from the center that have worked really hard on their FBLA or FCC, they could come and they could be presenting and showing what they have. You know, starting to build in that authentic assessment. I'm gonna have to present this, so here's my assessment is, you know, all those pieces to pull together. But again, this is what I'm doing. They are gonna take care of the, you know, the ground level and making sure that that gets done and how they want to get it done in their schools that works for their teachers.
So this is something I can see that not just parents or guardians could be or should be included in, but open it up to the public and come and see our showcase what we're doing with our students. Okay, so do those guardrails, I think the question is, do these guardrails meet the spirit of or do these progress measures meet the spirit of the guardrails that the board we've approved or we haven't?
No,
Yeah, it's tracking.
Yeah.
That we proposed.
okay.
You'll vote on the actual guardrail. So instead of you voting on the guardrails first, and then a superintendent, instead of a board, I mean, this is a general practice, a board voting on the guardrails, and then a superintendent bringing the guardrail progress measures, and then the board's like, yeah, actually, those aren't aligned with what we wanted. And then you're having to go back and refine your guardrails in order to give that direction to your superintendent. We recommend to just have this conversation first before you vote on them. And so the question before you is there any, anyone who believes these are not within the spirit of honoring the guardrails that the board has drafted? And if there is not any objection, then the guardrails go on your agenda for January.
Brian, you had a question?
Yes, what would we do about the parents that like to come in for parent-teacher conference?
So we will, okay,
There'll still be time available afterwards, because we're not gonna require the kids to be here from 4 to 9. So there's gonna be a set in stone time for them to be here during this. So come in and see what's going on, then afterwards, their teachers will still be here. So if you do wanna come to talk, we'll have that time.
we won't promote it as a parent-teacher conference because we're worried, okay, so you do one heavy and not the other, right? People won't come to that because I think, well, I'll just go to conferences, but we're just it's gonna be a student showcase. The teachers are gonna still be working because they need to be here from 4 to 9. So there will be time in the evening that we'll give them work time, or if a parent wants to come up and visit with them, they absolutely can. But we're not gonna promote it as a parent-teacher conference because those conversations should be taking place by that time anyways, right?
Exactly.
If a kid is struggling in my class, I should be calling them.
We should be on that
Yeah,
log.
yeah, on that log. There shouldn't be that we're waiting until March 20th or whatever the day, what is our date of? I don't remember. So it shouldn't be March 12th that I'm having a conversation with a parent about their child not finishing their work in January, right? That should have already been taken care of.
All right, any other questions or comments?
So
Go ahead.
real quick, are you gonna be doing these showcases or a student-led activity twice a year?
Right now, we have it just in the spring, right? But hopefully that will get to be what we
Okay.
want to do further is that we're gonna have more than just one of these, get people engaged.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, then the guardrails, the superintendent guardrails will be on the consent agenda for approval in January.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Item C.
Oh, can I share one more thing again? Okay,
Sure.
so I had set this at your, I set this at your table spot that I gave this to you earlier, so, one challenge for us as administrators is how do we communicate this to our staff, right? Instead of just one more thing that the staff is being asked to do, you know, or seeing this as a negative versus positive. So we met with Lori Phillips from Knowledge Works. She was here. We met as for a day with her, and we worked ourselves through this piece. Like, how is this all connecting, right? Because we spent so much time working on the portrait of the grad. We spent a lot of time working on those. Are we just leaving them behind? How can we create a structure so that everybody can see how does this connect? Like the things that we're asking now the teachers to do, because we're asking them to do different things that we haven't asked them to do before. So how does that translate into what we've been working on all these years so they understand that it's not just getting left behind? So I don't know what you might call it, a flow chart, a hierarchy of things, so people can understand that these are the things that the board is asking us to do, which we haven't done before. And really the board was remiss in that because you were supposed to have goals for us. You were supposed to have marks for us to do. So we've got that now, and this is what we're asking. But what we're saying is we believe at Oaks that in order for teaching and learning, that we have to have learner-centered instruction and assessment, we have to have engagement, and we have to have family engagement and communication. Those are those three things that, you know, we're saying that we need to have, those guardrails, right? But then it translates down through the goal progress measures, and it's going to be all the way down to what the teachers do in their classrooms, right? These the progress measures for guardrails are the things that the teachers are doing in the classroom, and if they do those things in their classrooms, we should easily be able to reach these goals. We should be able to easily reach our vision, our mission, our commitments. So it's just to say that that's the importance of these things. This isn't disconnected. It's not just one more thing for the teachers to do, but if we do these things, it will flow back up to the top. And from your demands, then it flows down from you to me, to the principals, to the teachers, that just kind of help them understand. So Jordan and Greg have already presented this to their staff members so that they can understand, again, that this isn't just one more thing for them to do. It's stuff that they're already doing. It's just that we're articulating that this is what we believe in as a school.
All right, moving on to item C, October, November board meeting time tracker. I guess that's you, Sue.
Sorry, say that again?
We're moving on to item 2C, October and November board meeting time tracker.
Okay, so I don't have that from Marcia, and I wasn't present at your last two meetings. So my apologies for that. We will, but what we are going to start doing in January is training you all on the time tracking, and I'll make sure that Marcia and I are sharing with you guys between now and then what these last couple of months were. So let me make a note of that. And again, my apologies, I didn't get that information from her.
Do I move that to next month's meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, which contains minutes of the November board meeting, financial reports, bills, the first reading of amended policy AAC, the budget amendment, continuity of services learning plan, and to receive the Cognia accreditation engagement review. Those items were all in your packet. You had an opportunity to ask questions and ask that they be moved to the discussion section. And these were remaining on consent agenda. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? So Heimbach moves. Is there a second? Nagel seconds. Thank you. Well done. We got stuff up for you. All right, is there any? All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes. There were reports in your packet, including the business manager's report, superintendent's report, minutes from three community action committees, gatherings. The B legendary ad hoc committee assignments were in the packet, as well as the minutes of the SRCTC board meeting. That's for information only.
And next month I'll put the special ed meeting as an issue, so.
All right, moving on then to item 5 or section A, facilities discussion. I think that will be Superintendent Sell
Yep.
and Lori Christensen.
Lori is on here.
She-
Okay.
She's still here.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Good morning,
Yes.
Lori.
Good morning. All right. Yeah, just wanted to bring back some information, kind of related mainly to that Community Action Committee group. We did have 3 very informative and successful meetings with the group. Started off, I think we had about 16 community members, along with our principals. Monica and Brian on the board attended, and then Shannon and Anna were part of it. So we started out kind of giving them the background of data that was collected through the planning process, including even doing a facility walkthrough on the second meeting. Last night we met with them. It was a great meeting. Actually went over about 45 minutes because the discussions were so good, and I thought that was really beneficial. And what we wanted to do is gather their input from this group to understand where they sit after they got more information about the needs of the districts related to their facilities, and in using that as just another tool for the board to decide what the best plan going forward would be. So we did a prioritization exercise, and Anna, did you send that to the board, or do you want me to share my screen?
I did send it, but you can share your screen if you, would you like her to?
Yeah, that would be good. I
Okay.
want this one.
All
Yeah.
right, let's see if you could just, Greg, are you the host?
Yep,
Will you give me permission?
yeah, I'll make you a co-host, yep.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Well, just in the moment, you can see how my week is when it's been fast. I said last night, it was actually Wednesday night. So here we are, it's Friday already. It was Wednesday. I think Wednesday was a blur. So here we are. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so this was just an activity where there were nine different facility needs that the board has kind of brought to the top of the list, right? And so we went through at this last meeting and said, okay, based on, let's see, there we go. Based on these needs that we've already deemed priorities, where would you rank them? Out of the 9, you get 6. We call it a sticky dot exercise. So you get to elect 6 that would be your top priority. You can only put 1 dot per need, and you don't have to use all 6, but you can use up to 6 if that's what you choose. So just showing you the results of those, we gave a little description of what the solution would be to address the need, what the cost would be, and then what that tax impact would be based on the average home and acre of land. Just so they could get a good sense of, like, you know, all around, how would this impact the community? How would this impact the district? And they can make their decision based on that. So out of that, the top priority came out at, I don't know, we had 13 attending, so maybe someone didn't follow my rules and maybe did put 2 on 1, but you know, that'll happen. So I'm not gonna, that's okay. So we had 13 who actually did the exercise. I believe our principals, board members, and administration did not. So just kind of keep that in mind. These were strictly community members who were at the meeting that did this. So they all voted that was the best. The HVAC, the next one that got 13 votes, which would be all of them, was the underground sewer piping, addressing those in those 2 locations. The kitchen renovation and expansion did get 12 votes as a priority. The high school ADA compliant restrooms got 6. So just under half of them felt that that was important. The high school windows got 4 votes. And then the classroom size suitability, there was classroom furniture, interior doors to your high school classrooms, and then the student lockers. Those all got 0 votes. So nobody within the community thought those were a top need that should be addressed. The second activity we did was a very short, simple to answer survey. And this is just so we could capture from this group what kind of some recommendations would be for you as a board. 13 survey responses. Do you want me to read through all these, Anna?
I don't think so. I think they've already read them because I sent it to them last night, so.
Okay, so you can see where this group fell as far as, is this the planning process? We asked a couple about the referendum. You can see how they responded to that, and then the financial piece of it too, you can kind of see. So this can help guide us as you as a board kind of look forward. I included in there too any open comments, so you have that you can read through and utilize as a tool as we make decisions. The other thing that the district is doing is we have that second community survey that's open to everybody that is still out and live. I think there's going to be a big push today because it closes at midnight tonight. We have 218 responses so far that have started the survey. And just in comparison, at our last survey that we put out to the public in September, we had 254 that started the survey. So we're a little shy of that, but getting close to those results. I know, I'm not sure if we always would want more people to take it, right, than we had on the first one. But we're also, just keep in mind, we're also looking at the first survey told us that a lot of people were uninformed or didn't know much about what was happening with the facility planning. So something that we'll be looking at on this survey is, has that changed? The districts and the school boards did an amazing job of going out to the public, informing, talking, just really trying to get the message on the need. And have we moved the needle at all to be ready to potentially bring this to the voters on a plan, potentially? And then I know, Monica, you can speak if you would like, and Anna, on some other initiatives just to try to get the word out. We've been meeting weekly just to talk about communications, so we don't lose sight of how we can reach parents, grandparents, community members. What are some creative ways that we can kind of get this message, continue to get the message out on some of the challenges the district's facing regarding to their facilities.
Yeah, so I think the big one that we focused on this last couple weeks was hitting the elementary and the high school concerts. Because of the most parents, grandparents, community members. So Marina and I worked on the videos, that were played before, and then she has been blasting those out via social media the last couple weeks. So the idea behind that was to show what our students want to do when they graduate, and to show community members that have graduated from here. There were some that don't live in the area anymore, but the majority of them do. And most of them are business owners, just to show how important our school is to our community.
Tonight, we're going to have the portable, our active board is going to be down in the lobby, kind of like they did at senior night last year, and a lot of people stopped to see the video, and we're going to have the video running there for people to just stop in between games to look at, just one more push to get that survey done tonight. So and there's another FQA coming out, but this one actually Lori and Aaron, because it has to do more with funding and the next steps, and what happens if the bond is less than what if we end up spending less in the bond, you know, some of those questions that came up, so they crafted 3 different questions, so that's gonna be going out. I think of anything else, we just kind of have been keeping on,
The staff spotlight. So
been trying to, yeah.
just kind of another way to put the school out there without pushing the facilities down.
Heard a lot from people in the community saying we've done a fantastic job of being transparent, letting people know. If people don't know about it, can't really say it's on the school because it's been everywhere. I mean, we spent money on putting out those postcards. We, you know, put it in the newspaper, you know, it's just, yeah. We have invested money in it, in order to get the word out. And if they haven't grabbed onto it, I guess, I don't know.
I think the last meeting on Wednesday night spoke pretty loudly on, like, do that survey and then put them in the statements.
Yeah.
And then the conversation that went on until almost 7:30. That was good information.
I felt really good about that survey, just simply because, I felt like, okay, there was, I don't know, it was a lot, not criticism, but they asked some hard questions, right?
Exactly.
And,
What we wanted.
right, that's
Yes.
that feedback, but
Yes.
yet, out of 13 people, 12 said, I would vote yes for it.
Yes.
So even though it was gonna be financially a tough hardship, you know, on some of those families, they still voted yes. So I felt like this is obviously a really small group, but if out of 13, 12 said yes, then, you know,
Yeah.
that's maybe a good sign.
Oh, good.
So what were some of the hard questions, the top 2 or 3, or what were the, and I'm not trying to single anyone out, but if there was one that said no, was there a prevailing negative? What was the negative reason?
Well, I think in the lack of details. So people want to know exactly what model is going in. They, you know, I think one of the comments was, well, it seems like this is the Cadillac of the boilers. Well, we don't even have a system designed yet. So it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that we have a cost, but we don't have an actual item to attach that to.
It's a broad estimate. It is not a designed plan.
Right, and I think Lori did an excellent job of explaining that.
Maybe we could put that in that question. I was thinking about that. If you know, in your questions and answers, if you can tell people why we can't get an exact amount or an exact product of what we're gonna do.
Well,
that's how
I'm-
the
yeah.
referendum would-
Yeah, look, in their question this week, they kind of answered that because they said, what are the next steps that we first have to pass the bond and then things are so different. And Nick Harris said, I get it, right? Because we work with, it's not like I can go to on my home and go to a contractor and say, hey, could you come in and give me an estimate for, Greg, do you care if I use you? They just got their HVAC done in their home, right? Greg can go and say, hey, can you come in and give me an estimate for what it would cost to do my HVAC system? And, but we can't do that here, right? Bring somebody in, hey, can you tell me what would be the best? They're gonna go, what are your specs? You know, and really those are those things that we just can't really come through, and do that. And that, the cost is just, I mean, it blows your socks off, right? 12 million just for the HVAC. But another piece that Greg shared with me was they did their HVAC in their house. They didn't do their windows, and their system, his brand new system, can't even keep up because his windows are so bad that now he has to go into his windows. So, you know, it's those pieces, those things like that.
They go hand in hand. Yeah.
Right.
So that's the question I wanted to ask Lori, because the windows didn't get a lot. And in fact, I had been thinking that the windows were included in the 11.9 million, because it just almost seems to go without saying that you need to do the windows if you're doing HVAC, because the HVAC is not going to be effective and do its job if we keep the crappy windows. So how would you say that's a correct assessment, Lori? And how do we combat that or bring that around to the public?
Yeah, I think it's definitely aligns with is something you should prioritize along with the HVAC. It's gonna change the size of your HVAC system because they'll take that in consideration when sizing the heating and cooling. The quality of your windows and the R value. Also, you know, with the ventilation and being able to have those windows non-operable to keep the utility bills down and regulate the temperature in those rooms and have control of that versus students and maybe teachers just propping them open when they feel like it. That also aligns really well with a brand new system, right? Because you're gonna then, otherwise you may be like, well, why isn't this working properly? Oh, well, someone left the windows open, and because I don't know why. So one thing though to think about is, and it's very clear that the cost of this project is a huge concern of the community, and what the tax impact is a huge concern. So we know that the windows are important. You know, do we try to fund them a different way? Do you try to put it, you know, do we try to look at, as you have this debt, like your building bond, building fund, not bond, building fund, you know, is there a way to maybe utilize those dollars you're putting towards that bond now to in the future pay for a bond for just the windows? I don't know exactly, but it's something we have to kind of weigh, because we also can't let that, technically you can replace the HVAC without changing the windows. You can absolutely do that. What you can't do is half of an HVAC system. You know, some of the comments were, well, let's just do something for 5 million, or let's just do something for 7. Well, that doesn't really work, right? So I think we have to just really think long and hard on where you think your community can tolerate for the cost of the project, and then decide, are there other ways to fold in these other necessary items? I sometimes look at it, it's like, well, the district's doing what they can. We can take on this $900,000 debt, but we need help with the 13 million, or, you know, something like that, between the kitchen and the HVAC. We might have to look at being creative like that. And I just want to be honest about that, because that shows the community you're willing to kind of sacrifice too on the district side.
You know, one thing, looking at the windows on your sticky dot thing. So the tax impact per month for the windows is $1.27. You know, it's nothing. And I think if we push that out, this type of information out to the general public, they're gonna see that and go, well, that's not really increasing my debt, you know, my taxes at all.
It is $1.27 on top of
Well,
the
yeah,
already perceived.
no, I realize that, but you know, when you think about your HVAC functioning better
I know.
because you have,
And potentially the 11.9 million maybe being a little bit less than that, because we can size it correctly with the better windows. And
Right.
Maybe we're gonna save a third of the cost of the windows by downsizing the HVAC. I'm not an engineer, but that's my impression.
The other thing.
Or ultimate, yeah. And then,
If it was within this meeting or one of the others, but, that there doesn't necessarily just have to be one question on the ballot, that you could put on there, okay, for odd cents a month, would you approve the windows?
I
Yeah.
think too, after we started having conversations, that because the windows was with the envelope, that caused difficulties, whereas if the windows would have been separate from the envelope, that there might have been different votes, because they started to realize the importance of the windows, you know, that how that tied in with the HVAC, but you know, the envelope is the tough point and things like that, you know, I think if they would have been, yeah.
they're not easy decisions. It's
No.
gonna be, it's tough. But hopefully this will help guide you as we continue to talk about it. And I really do commend these community members, because it's not easy to commit to three weeks in a row. And they did a great job. We had, you know, a couple people that maybe had conflicts once, and couldn't make one of the three, but overall, they committed to it. They asked the hard questions. And I would say they also listened too, like they're open-minded, because we had, you know, some pretty strong community members who weren't necessarily on board when they started. I should maybe, and with that survey result, I think that says a lot, that they now feel that that with the information at hand, it's a good and necessary thing that the district does.
We also have to remember when we do a project of this size, we have to figure out the engineering and the architect is a percentage of that money also.
Yeah, that's built into your cost, right?
Yep.
And all the fees that
Yeah.
go along with it.
And that was what we tried to get across to that group too, is they're all in project costs. So sometimes, you know, they may talk to the local HVAC contractor and he may say, that's crazy. But you know, there's a lot of other factors in this budget. And maybe we have to break it down differently. I don't know, but it's definitely been a hurdle for people to get their head around how much it does cost in today's world to do a long-term solution. You know, I haven't heard from the board that they want something that would last 10 years. If you guys wanted a cheaper system, we could look at a 10-year solution that would be less money.
I think our goal would be a 20-year system, 20+ year.
Right.
I don't think it's, yeah.
Justice into our small things.
Right.
Not on me.
Well, the history knows that it doesn't do well for us, right? Yeah. Because in 82, they passed it. In 98, they needed to do the elementary and they voted that down. And now we're still ready to
Done nothing.
the elementary, right? And that's coming up. We know that that will be coming up because those units are not gonna last 20 years. Big smile. In fact, we have a problem with our heating in the elementary right now, right?
It's gold.
Yeah.
Good thing it's a nice one, just like ours.
Just ruined all those, Sheila. All right, good discussion. Anything else on the facilities discussion?
So we'll have a special board meeting next week on Friday, and Lori, they will have the survey results, and it'll be more like just a working session for us to talk about some more things, and then I don't know if you want my advice or my suggestion or whatever you guys can always change, that it would be to take that information, mull over that information over Christmas break, come back in January and decide if you're gonna either call the question or not, and decide on your next steps. But I'm thinking our January board meeting would be our last chance to call. If we want to get the low cost loans
Right.
or an opportunity at them, not guaranteed, but you get the application. Yeah,
And that meeting is at 2.
I think, yeah, two, yeah.
Is it, yeah, did we land on 2 o'clock, Anna?
Yeah, because that's when they could be there to present Aaron and Anna and their team on survey
Yeah.
results.
Were you gonna send out a Zoom link for that, or did I need to?
I will
set
do
up
that. Nope, I will. Or I will, because it's a board meeting.
Perfect, okay.
Oh, did you get one? Okay.
We got a team.
Okay.
Oh, they always send out those teams.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll send out a Zoom. Okay.
They just do, I mean, it's not that they're gonna do the meeting.
But I think that's where we're at, right? Lori is, now we're just gonna wait for the survey results next Friday and.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank
Okay,
you
so
guys.
that's it.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori. That's it for item A, facilities discussion. So item B for discussion and possible action is to approve the first reading of the 2024-25 calendar. As a reminder, this was initially on the consent agenda, and it can be on the consent agenda in the future, but it is something that the board has always discussed in the past. And then there was the question, Anna asked me the question, well, it's still on the consent agenda, but, you know, I presented it in the way that, well, the teachers, most of the teachers supported this version, but then there was that version. And so just to kind of show how, yes, this is the process, how let's take something off the consent agenda and put it on discussion. In the future, we maybe don't need to have it on for discussion, but let's discuss something a little bit.
So I sent you the new updated Southeast region. They haven't approved any of them. This is just what Dan Spellberg's been sending out. And his has changed after listening to some other schools, but we don't have to totally align with it. We know that we can figure out if we're not the exact same. And we can't align exactly with the center because they have more days than we have, as far as contract days. So we came up with A, B, and C, and I sent it out to the teachers and said, give me which one of those that you would want. Of course, not everybody chooses one, right? It's all over. Everybody has theirs. Some want longer vacation, some want more vacation. It just depends. But anyways, A was where the majority of the teachers landed on. So not that you have to choose A, but if you want to choose A, I think part of that was graduation is the 16th, which is not Memorial Day.
The last day of school.
Oh, I'm sorry, the last day of school is the 16th, graduation is on the 18th. Memorial Day is early this year. I mean, it's still in May 25th, but only one of these calendars is out the week before. B and C are out that week of Memorial Day, but.
Now, this will be the second year that we've had graduation the week before
Mhm.
Memorial Day.
Mhm.
Has there been any kickback from the public or anything like that?
I haven't heard anything, but everybody has their own choice, right? Like, I liked it on Memorial Day because my family's have come for graduation, right? People that don't have kids in it, they don't like it, right? Because, yeah, they like it. Mhm. I had somebody that said, why do we have to go so early in August? But heck, great when you start football practice.
Well, this year we started on what, third or the
That
second?
was,
So,
our kids are here and in activities, not that that would be our reason, but I mean, pretty much everybody is starting about the 21st. Christmas was another thing. Some schools are not taking the full week. Some are coming back for that Thursday and Friday. I did have people that asked me for the full 2 weeks at Christmas because they like those full 2 weeks. So it just, we're never gonna land on it. It might even be split 50-50, but I think, the teachers have spoken and said the majority wanted A, the ones that voted, so.
It's been a long time since we've had Christmas, hasn't it?
It's been a while. We didn't take boy hunting day out.
Ooh, that might make some impact. So we would have the 11th, which by state law, we don't have school on Veterans Day, which is a Monday, so that's a.
What day is Sunday?
Yeah. No, A is November 8th. It is on B and it is on C. But the reason
You
why.
have it in the list, but not.
Oh, do I have it in those? Okay, I'll take that up there, yeah.
Okay, so it's correct on the graphic.
Yeah, I just need to take that out, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The reason why we, on B and C, were able to take those days, obviously, is because we're going a week longer,
Right.
so. We're able to build in, on C, I was able to build in, some people say, okay, and I agree, it gets really long when you're going in January and February with no breaks. But then again, we have to go longer in May, so I guess it's a.
Is there any data or research that shows, gosh, it's better to just have more continuous education rather than a lot of short breaks, or that's maybe too broad a question to
No,
answer
that,
right now?
and,
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I haven't looked
probably,
at it.
probably could support both ways, right? Just
Which
like,
one do you
yeah,
want to
some
believe?
people want longer breaks. One of the teachers gave me feedback, which I really appreciate. Instead of having longer breaks, could we just have a periodic Friday? And then other teachers say, we don't want that because that interrupts, the, mhm. And there's usually activities on those days, so the coaches are, so. But Christmas break is long and there's activities during that too, so.
All right, so you have seen proposed calendars A, B, and C. What I'm seeking is a motion to approve one of those three, a first reading for the 24-25 school calendar, and we will revisit. There's a couple of fixes, just typo type fixes. So is there a motion regarding the 24-25 school calendar first reading?
You're asking us to choose one?
Well, isn't that what we
Yeah,
need to do?
yeah, like you, make
Yes.
a motion of a calendar A here.
We can't just move to approve the
This
first
one?
reading and
Well,
not say which one we're
reading
doing.
policy.
Well, this doesn't have to be done in 2 readings, you know. But you might want to get it over.
We can approve a first reading and
Yeah.
we revisit it next time, and we might not make it final next time.
Yep.
And remember, we always have to come back and amend it anyway for storm days and various things. No, various things.
Various.
Various.
Would it not be an advantage to be done at school on that Wednesday of January, first, second, and third?
You can't come back on it.
Second, and third, I mean, as far as storm days and such?
It just feels like such a long break.
I know, that's what I think too, is.
And some teachers feedback that they liked the 2-week break,
Yes.
but did not. I'm guessing.
Ones that like it probably attend.
Well, no.
Yeah,
and
that-
them.
yeah.
I always like getting off Wednesday of Thanksgiving. Not everybody's from here, otherwise you have to travel Wednesday night or.
And a little longer break at Easter. Just to like even an extra day, because I think kids are burned out at that point. So like, yes, the teachers too. So it's nice to give them a little extra.
When is Easter? This is
8th April, yeah. And then there's only 3 weeks of school till, you know, if we get out on the 16th.
Yeah, that's true. Easter's late and. So what's the motion you need?
I make a motion to approve the first reading of school calendar A.
Second.
Okay, moved by Heimbach, seconded by Day to approve the first reading of calendar A as the 24-25 school calendar. No, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? This will be back before us and I presume on the consent calendar, but we can take it off if we want to have further discussion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Okay, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say no.
No.
Motion passes. All right, future meeting, we've already discussed the special meeting of 2 o'clock next Friday. Will we be expected to come in or will everybody be trying to join virtually? Or
I'll be here.
Okay, all right.
I hate the virtual.
Okay. Our presenters will be virtual, but that's not unusual.
Yeah.
Will you be here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Quite
okay.
sure, yeah.
School's still.
Oh, I'm gonna commit. I think it'll be okay. I'll be here.
All right.
Yeah.
Bring it again.
Yeah, right.
All right,
See?
so 2 o'clock, a week from today for the survey results and working discussion section. Regular meeting is Friday, January 12th. Here, 7 a.m. And then the next regular meeting is February 9th at the Career Tech Center.
Okay, that's been approved.
All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? Announcements? Cowbell game is tonight, in case anyone forgot.
When was the last time we had the cowbell?
Well, we had 16, 2011. You know, I buy a prime rib and supper for the whole team. Win. Is that on?
Yeah, that's being recorded. Did you hear?
I don't think you would get a meeting yesterday.
No, I am.
Oh, she is not.
And, everybody have a great holiday. Well, we'll see you next
Oh, we'll
Friday.
be back.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned at 8:29 a.m.